In the aftermath of the recent crash of Surajaya Air SJ182, we see yet again a critique of Indonesia's aviation safety reputation. For years, it has not been something the country has been able to shake off, especially after a string of high-profile incidents that made global headlines within the last decade. During taking the toll of the aftermath of an incident, after these high-profile incidents, there are articles that come about detailing the history of aviation accidents that has happened within Indonesia. While there are legitimate concerns, it does add more to the image of the aviation industry in Indonesia being unsafe. Though in this video I will add, beyond the headlines, there are factors that we do need to take a look at that are often highlighted in the initial and final reports related to these incidents. We'll take a look at the challenges and factors that have contributed to the current situation related to air travel safety in Indonesia. While we continue to wait for the outcomes of the investigations related to SJ182, we have to take a look briefly at the aviation incident records from Indonesia's National Transportation Safety Committee. According to the listed reports on its website, there were around 141 incidents reported within Indonesia between 2010 and 2020. Keep in mind going forward that this not only includes airliners but also private aircraft and helicopters. Within the most recent past decade, 2011 saw the highest number of aircraft incidents reported with 21. During 2020, there was a reported 7 incidents, leading us into 2021 and the most recent incident of SJ182. The worst aircraft incident in Indonesia happened in 1997 when a Garuda Indonesia Flight 152 crashed into the mountains near Medan, killing 234 people. More than a decade later, the headlines would cover the budget airline Indonesia Air Asia when QZ8501 crashed while in flight between Surabaya and Singapore, resulting in the loss of 162 people. Fast forward to 2018 and we get to Lion Air Flight JT610, which resulted in the loss of 189 lives and was the first crash of the new Boeing 737 MAX, which led to great scrutiny to Boeing and the aircraft. With these incidents and the others reported over the years, it had led to other government agencies in other countries such as the United States and Europe to ban the operations of Indonesian-based airlines during the late 2000s and into the late 2010s. While it has not really affected most of the airlines operating in the country, as they mostly operate domestically, it has been a thorn along Garuda Indonesia, the country's national airline, especially that Garuda is the only Indonesian-based airline that operates flights to Europe. The questions and scrutiny around Indonesia and its aviation safety record comes despite the fact that aviation maintenance is a big business worth around $1 billion in Indonesia alone, and the country hosts some of the best facilities for narrow-body aircraft maintenance. Adding to this, some of the airlines such as Lion Air, which is often criticized for its own safety record, do have international air safety credentials such as completing training its International Air Transport Association operational safety audit. Adding to this, Garuda Indonesia's aircraft maintenance arm, the GMF Aero Asia, has certifications from countries such as Singapore, Europe, and the United States aviation authorities. So now we get to the questions of what are the problems when it comes to the Indonesian aviation industry and safety. Often we hear that the incidents are related to weather and human error from the pilots. In some cases such as Lion Air JT610, the aircraft was a major factor. You'll see these factors reported in the news, but for the most part, the situation with the Lion Air and the Indonesia Air Asia crash a few years back is a part of the overall picture of the safety record of Indonesia. I also have to add that Indonesia's NTSC's reports also minor aircraft incidents like runway overruns that we often don't see in the major global headlines. We'll first deal with the situation related to human error, which ties into pilot training and experience. For years, Indonesia has been a bright spot of the global aviation industry, and there has been a push to recruit and hire more Indonesian pilots. However, there has been some questions raised related to the pilot training that would-be aviators based in Indonesia are getting, and in recent years, Indonesian aviation authorities have been increasing the standards of flight training academies. These standards include the ownership of 5 aircraft, which was the reason why in 2018, Indonesia's Transport Ministry closed down 8 flight schools. Adding to this, there has been the low passing rate in airline recruiting exams by newly graduated pilots. In 2018, there were reports that a local Indonesian carrier conducting written and simulator tests saw only 2 who passed the exams out of 150 recruits. Another airline reported only 3 passing out of 140. Not the numbers that the airlines of Indonesia would love to have, given the push to recruit more local pilots to fill the growing needs of Indonesia's aviation industry. Another factor I want to bring up is the aviation infrastructure, which is not always equal in terms of what you might get in the cities of Jakarta, Medan, Yogyakarta, or other cities in Indonesia that have developed airfields with safety and navigational equipment. What you often don't see in Indonesia are the far-flung remote areas such as in Papua towards the eastern side of Indonesia, where in 2020 had 3 reported incidents. Papua is one of those areas in Indonesia that has amazing views, but along with that comes the mountainous terrain and ever-changing weather conditions. Add in the short landing strips used in these areas, you get yourself some challenging flying situations for even some of the most experienced pilots. To better see the risks of flying in these areas, you can see the experiences of young pilots looking to get their flying hours on the episodes of Worst Places to Fly, which originally aired on the British Channel 4 a few years back. In terms of flying in these conditions, I couldn't really find any information related to that, and was there any curriculum for pilots to be trained in these kind of situations, given that Indonesia does have areas so remote that only airplanes could be used to access these locations in a timely manner. The third point I will be bringing up is the outdated systems of the Indonesia's air traffic control system. The current organization of AirNav, which oversees the air traffic control operations in Indonesia, has the heavy task of managing the skies of the country, which spans 5,120 kilometers from west to east. By comparison, this is a far longer route than if you're flying from Los Angeles to New York in the United States. With this huge responsibility, there has been reports that ATC has been overwhelmed at Jakarta's main airport, Soekarno-Hatta, and with the lack of upgraded radar, pilots have often had to self-rely weather on themselves. This is often a task that normally is the responsibility of pilots, though any technology upgrade would be helpful for pilots to navigate in conditions of poor visibility. For this part, Indonesia's authorities are answering the call, and in recent years there has been growing investment in this matter. Though there is a point that with the large airspace, there may be a need for more air traffic controllers. Going forward, I believe that there are Indonesian aviation professionals who do have the expertise and more knowledge than I do in terms of the situation to help improve the overall air safety reputation of Indonesia. With over 17,000 islands, aviation is a crucial industry for the country, as it is often a lifeline for many in the far-flung regions of the archipelago. Looking forward, there's a lot of work to do amongst Indonesia's aviation professionals and regulators. As for flying in Indonesia, there are flights that day in, day out will operate safely, and for the most part, we often hear and see the biggest aviation accidents that make the news, similar to what we see in any other country. However, there are valid criticisms, and clearly the work is still cut out. What are your thoughts on Indonesia's air safety reputation, and do you think it is deserved or not? What do you think can be done further to improve the situation? I'd definitely love to hear your take on this, though in the meantime, I thank you for watching this video. This has been Flights in Asia, highlighting the news and updates from the aviation and travel scene in the Asia Pacific. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.